All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. For those of Baptists that are in the back, come on up here forward. We don't bite, or at least not hard anyway. Welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's so nice to see so many faces, and I think yesterday when I was reading the comments on the NACOM app, I think many of you have expressed it's so nice to be in person again because, as we all know, COVID-19, our friend, or maybe not so much friendly, but has kept us from being together for almost a year and a half now. And some of you are attending virtually, by the way, and we welcome you as well. My name is Lisa Goldsworthy. I wear a number of hats for Mentis Technology. I'm a marketing director, a project manager, I'm an implementation lead, and I'm the primary trainer for the suite of software products that's offered by Mentis. And I occasionally have some spare time, and I am a director of a nonprofit animal rescue in my hometown of Eden, North Carolina. If you are looking for a furry friend, make sure you see me sometime. I'll connect you up pretty quick. I am joined by some of my partners with Mentis. Eric Semensky is standing in the back there. Some of you already know Eric probably from his life prior to Mentis Technology. Eric has been with us now for a few months, but he has over 20 years of experience in the court and legal management industry, both in the public and private sectors. He was the project director, by the way, for the Arizona Supreme Court in implementing aiSMARTBENCH, and that's one of the products we're going to be talking to you about today. But he was the project director, as I said, in getting aiSMARTBENCH implemented in 14 of the 15 counties there in the trial courts in Arizona. And he's going to be in the back, maybe walking around with a microphone a little bit later because we do have a question and answer session that he's going to try to lead you down that path for us. I'm also joined by Mark Singer. Mark is a retired Manatee County Manatee County Court judge with the 12th Circuit Court in Florida. And Mark was one of the first judges to begin using aiSMARTBENCH back in 2011. And he has joined Mentis as a consultant, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about his background as we go along. But again, thank you for joining us, and Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to see you all here, and welcome for those of you that are on Zoom. We've got a screen up behind me that may attract your attention. For 4,000 years, humanity has documented religion, history, governance, the law, and the courts on clay, stone pillars, and for the last 2,000 years, paper. Think of that for a moment. For the last 2,000 years, essentially, government and court documents have been kept on paper. After all of this time, only in the last several decades have we entered the digital age for record keeping. You've all heard the expression, well, we've always done it that way. No longer. Now we're going green. We're in unprecedented times. The pandemic of COVID has forced the courts to re-examine its courtrooms. Courts are realizing that a connected court is more than just an online court session. It is about connecting the court to all stakeholders. aiSMARTBENCH and aiCALENDAR is a simple solution for managing the court and making life easier for everyone. The COVID-19 lockdown has brought into focus the absolute necessity of transitioning from paper files to a robust, fully electronic case management and data system. As many counties and states across the United States are now asked to comply with new e-filing requirements and to transition to electronic CMS and DMS systems, there is a critical need to provide judges with an application that can deliver the electronic files to the courtroom, the judge's chambers, the judge's home, so that the judge remotely can literally take his or her office anywhere, anytime. Most of you know that court records and files are brought into the courtroom in a wheeled cart. They're in paper. What kind of order are these files in? Usually they're numerical, sometimes they're alphabetical. How are they accessed? Well, the files are accessed one at a time. The defendant's name is called, the clerk pulls the file from the cart, the file is handed to another clerk, the clerk hands it to the judge opens the file, and then the files are examined. The judge is looking for the pertinent documents for whatever the hearing is. Documents may have been filed within 48 hours of the court hearing. Are those files, those documents in the court file? Probably not, because they're put into the clerk's inbox. And the files are already in the cart. They're not going to catch up with the paper files themselves. That's the way it's been done. That's the way it was when I first started in 2005. So now imagine a computer application. It's completely web-based. It's accessible with systemic access protection. All of the files are up to date with the most recently e-filed documents. The file list is presented in an agenda view on a computer screen, which can be reordered by name, case number, party, or attorney at the click of a mouse. With another click on the specific file, a case summary is presented to the judge on the right side of the screen with the most up-to-date information about the case. On the left-hand side of the screen, the entire docket becomes visible. Any docket item can be clicked to bring up the document on the right side of the screen, replacing the case summary. Below the docket on the left are designed spaces for critical information, notes, and links to other relevant sources. Best of all, the entire clerk's database is searchable by party, case, and document. Related parties and cases can be found by a click. The clerk's database can be queried for important data information. For example, how many civil cases in a specific division are more than 180 days old? Mentis products are built on a technology that learns to think like your business experts to enable you to be more efficient in civil and criminal judicial process. In the last analysis, judicial efficiency results in the timely disposition of cases by the courts, accurate record keeping by the clerk, and timely, equal justice for all. In a world where all our judicial dockets are backlogged with pending cases, there has never been a more critical time to implement the aiSMARTBENCH and aiCALENDAR solutions. aiSMARTBENCH, inspired by judges for judges. It transforms the traditional courtroom workflow with efficiencies that meet or exceed current paper processes. It allows you to securely perform high-speed, full-text searches with a particular document or across all documents for a particular case while you're in a courtroom, in chambers, at home, or on the road. Multiple simultaneous glances are visible to present a wealth of case and related information without the inconvenience of multiple modules or multiple applications. aiSMARTBENCH empowers judges and staff to efficiently leverage the electronic case file, securely access calendars and case documents, make notes, annotate documents, create and sign orders, e-file, and collaborate with staff. Let me take a moment and tell you about Mentis Technology Solutions. Mentis was founded in the year 2000. Mentis is an industry leader in the development of expert systems for the extraction, indexing, and redaction of words in documents. Mentis products have been implemented in over 200 land and court records and Secretary of State offices nationwide. With aiSMARTBENCH and aiCALENDAR, Mentis brings expert systems technology and an intimate knowledge of document images directly to the courtroom. Mentis has integrated aiSMARTBENCH with over 200 case management systems that are both off the shelf and homegrown. And Mentis has successfully implemented the aiSMARTBENCH judicial application in more than 130 circuit, district, superior, and county courts across the United States. Let me give you a little bit of background about myself. I've been a lawyer in Florida and licensed to practice there and in the federal courts since 1978. I spent my first 10 years as a state prosecutor, then 20 years as a private lawyer. In 2005, I was appointed by Governor Jeb Bush to be a judge on the Manatee County Court bench. At the time that I became a judge, Manatee County courts did not have computers in the courtroom. The files were essentially paper-based, although there was the beginnings of transition to the DMS and CMS systems. Our clerk, Chip Shore, and our Chief Judge, Robert Bennett, wanted to move the courts into the digital age. In fact, I went to Chips when I first got appointed. I knew him from my years as a prosecutor, and I said, Chips, why isn't there a computer in the courtroom? And he jumped up and he said, I've been waiting for you to be here because this is what I've wanted to do. We're ready to implement an electronic system. We needed a new court viewer for the courtroom. It needed to be developed so that judges could effectively use the digitized court files from the CMS and DMS systems. In 2007, with others, I went to Denver, Colorado to meet with Mentis to discuss with them the parameters of such a court viewer and to lay the groundwork for its development. In 2011, aiSMARTBENCH was released for use by Manatee County and Santa Rosa counties in Florida. As a county court judge in a county of over 400,000 people with many dockets in the hundreds, I used aiSMARTBENCH every single day with great success until my retirement this past January. Now, if you've never seen aiSMARTBENCH or its new companion, aiCALENDAR in action, I recommend that you come to the sponsors booth on Wednesday and give it a try. aiSMARTBENCH allows the judge to securely work from anywhere, at home, in the office, on the road, in conferences or meetings, even on vacation, to review upcoming dockets and pending motions. With aiSMARTBENCH, a judge can effectively prepare for motion hearings and trials by making summaries, comments, highlighting important issues. The judge can remotely prepare orders, sign them, and e-file them. A criminal judge can review arrest and bench warrants, cost judgments, judgments of conviction, and probation orders, and e-sign them, and file them with the clerk with e-service to the parties. aiSMARTBENCH supports a strong interaction between the judge and the court clerk. aiSMARTBENCH's unique design streamlines the judicial process. It provides contextual shortcuts to key information. It adapts the way a particular judge runs their courtroom. It's an echo chamber. It's no problem. SmartBench adapts to the way a particular judge runs their courtroom without custom programming. It connects the judge through a single interface to vital case and calendaring information. It integrates into multiple case management systems, offering the same user experience to those judges regardless of the jurisdiction over which they're located. aiCALENDAR aggregates multiple calendar sources into a shared collaboration platform, supporting both in-person and virtual court hearings. It provides anytime, anywhere access to the case calendar from any mobile device. Think of that. Anytime, anywhere access to the case calendar from any mobile device. What a boon for attorneys trying to schedule hearings. It provides built-in efficiencies for the court and attorneys to collaborate, to be in compliance with court rules and scheduling guidelines. It provides an accurate unified court calendar for everyone. It provides personalized configuration for judge-specific scheduling processes that accommodate the needs of each individual judge. With aiCALENDAR, you have tailored docket sheets, that is, judge-specific templates for capturing and communicating today's docket. And it's simple. It streamlines scheduling processes to reduce the burden of the court's workload. So, exactly what is aiSMARTBENCH? Let's dig a little deeper. aiSMARTBENCH is an e-bench solution designed specifically for judges. The concept of the e-bench, that is a judicial viewer or judicial tool, is fairly new to the court's technical framework. The key words are, quote, designed for courtroom judges or their staff, unquote, because while it is possible for users to access the case information through the case management system of the clerk, it is not efficient for searching within a case or within an entire database. Court users don't always have access to screens or functions that they need in the CMS system. The data often isn't displayed in a readable style. This is because the CMS system is designed for use by the clerk, not by the judge. As you know, the CMS and DMS each play an important role and already exist in the clerk's network. An e-bench application such as aiSMARTBENCH is an invaluable component that integrates with those source systems to pull the information and documents and serve them up to the judiciary with their own electronic copy of the case file displayed in a way that works for judges and their staff. Plus, an e-bench enables the judiciary to extend the case file to the notes and work product they generate. While both provide access to the court case information, the court case management system is built for clerks. It's focused on the overall maintenance of the entire court case load. It's designed for fast data entry and storage. It's where the official record is entered and maintained and is designed for use by the siloed worker with a very narrow project scope. Generally, its users are only able to focus on one case at a time. On the other hand, aiSMARTBENCH is built for judges. It's focused on both individual users and the cases on their calendar. It's designed for fast document and information retrieval. It allows for collaborative work and offers the judge the ability to examine multiple cases and documents at the same time. aiSMARTBENCH is built on the powerful Mentis technology platform designed to automate cumbersome paper processes endemic to the court and the clerk. This means effectively serving up vital case documents for quick decision-making and accurately capturing the rulings and adjudications from the judge's bench without slowing down the proceedings of the day's docket. Mentis was given the starting criteria of it must meet or exceed the efficiencies of paper files. This opening salvo drove the design decisions that resulted in aiSMARTBENCH. Okay, as we dig down deeper, you'll see at the big screen here, this is the dashboard. When you log on using your username and password and the program launches, this is what the judge will see. It's configured for the user that logs on. On the left-hand side, you'll see a list. These are all the different activities that you can use aiSMARTBENCH. And by pushing any of those buttons, that will allow you to enter into that activity. And we'll be going through, as we go through this process, explaining what some of these buttons do. The main screen of the dashboard is the daily agenda. We've noted by number different aspects of this dashboard screen, and let me go through that with you briefly. Number one is the search. This enables users to search for and access any case in the source case management system. Users simply key in a case number or portion of a case number and select the specific case from the list. Number two is the large portion of the right-hand side of the screen. This is the group docket glance. This has all the cases that are scheduled for the day. It provides a view of the judge's scheduled hearings and one-click access to each of those cases. On the bottom, these are other glances. That's number three. These include user-defined set of glances, often providing views into important websites, work queues, and folders. One of the glances that I always had on the bottom of the screen was bench warrants. The clerk would prepare the bench warrants from court, put them into this work queue folder. I would have it right on my agenda so I would know that I had bench warrants waiting for me to pull up, review, sign, and send back to the clerk. Number four is the activity panel, as I've just discussed. It's on the left-hand side, and this provides access to other functional activities in the application, such as viewing calendars, viewing a specific case, managing workspaces, viewing a folder, and doing searches for documents or case parties, or preparing incoming documents. And lastly, on the top is number five. That's the menu bar, which provides quick access to add a shortcut. It allows you to access your Windows orientation and your help menu. So the first glance on the user's dashboard is the daily agenda or today's docket. This provides a customizable listing of all the cases scheduled to be heard for that day. Cases can be sorted by clicking any column heading, such as time, case number, first party, second party, etc. On the top of the docket view, today's docket is configured to default to today's date, which makes sense because you're going to want to look at today's docket first, and all locations. Some of the judges use multiple courtrooms over the course of a day, so that judge user will see all their cases regardless of what courtroom they're in. These defaults that are set up in the system can easily be changed by clicking on them. Below that is the judge's docket for the selected day. At a glance, the judge can see important information regarding each case. The magnifying icon brings up the case summary without leaving the docket. Clicking on the rectangular paper icon will bring up the entire case, starting with the case summary. The docket lists the parties and their attorneys, as well as information pertinent to each case, such as in custody. The docket is listed by chronological age by case number, but it can be reorganized by clicking on any of the column headings. For example, clicking on the first party attorney will organize the files by the attorneys on all the listed cases alphabetically. Now that can be very helpful when you've got a large docket. And in Manatee County, when we had pretrial conferences, we'd have a docket of 300 cases to be heard in an afternoon. The attorney would come forward and say, I'm Attorney Grollman, and I've got numerous cases on the docket. I hit the second party, which is the second party attorney for the defense attorneys, and all Mr. Grollman's cases would show up alphabetically. I'd scroll down to find Mr. Grollman's name, and there are all the cases of his on the docket. Makes it very easy then to go through the docket cases and find out what the status of each one is. Not only can you organize the files on your view by attorney, it applies to all the columns. So you can click any of the other columns to reorganize your view. Clicking on the case number column will return the docket to its default view. On the bottom, the user can specify in what time increments they'd like to group the cases. Typically, the grouping is by schedule. You can change that to hourly, every 15 minutes. You can make it all day or just morning and afternoon. The status bar on the very bottom gives a summary of how many cases are on the docket and how many cases are remaining to be completed. You can complete a case by just putting a check mark in the far left-hand box. And you may see some of those that are checked. And that causes this little bottom portion excuse me, to populate. That's very helpful when you've got one of these large dockets and you try to get an idea of how much more you've got to do. And sometimes it can be daunting because you can be working for an hour or so and you look down and you've got 300 cases and you're only on the 50th case. And you're thinking, this is going to be a long afternoon. But it's valuable information because it tells you, if you're looking at your clock, whether you're falling behind or whether you need to speed things up. As some of you may know, at pretrial conferences, attorneys come forward and they want to talk a lot. Well, if you've got 300 cases on the docket, you can't allow too many people to be talking about too many things. So you say, look, I've got another 300 cases. I've only done 50. We need to keep moving. Okay, just tell me what you want to do with the case and where we need to put it. As I said, when you click on the magnifying glass icon or the paper icon on the daily docket, the case summary page comes up on the right. The case summary is dynamically built and reflects the most recent changes in the case status. And I would just point out that the magnifying glass can be very helpful when you've got one of these big dockets, because I use the case summary often as the attorney comes forward just to get a quick glance to see, how many times the case has been continued, what the status is, and the like, rather than opening up the whole case, because then it's very easy just to release the magnifying glass and go back to the agenda view. Each jurisdiction can configure the case summary to display all critical case data, which could include the parties, their attorneys, the charges, the file date, the events. The content will vary depending upon the type of case. Data from the clerk's case management system is what populates the case summary. Now, when you click on the paper icon, you bring up the case view. This is what it looks like. On the right-hand side, you'll see a document because that line has been clicked. When you first bring up the case view, the case summary is what appears on the right. The main glance on the left is the court case docket view. This glance allows you to view all the documents in a case as well as user-defined tabs or shortcuts on the top, which help the judge navigate to specific document types, such as probable cause affidavits, charging documents, and pending motions. These tabs can be configured depending upon the judge's preference for a specific case type. Separate docket views can be created for a judge who presides over several different divisions. Many county judges handle both civil, traffic, and criminal cases. A separate glance or view can be created for each. For example, a criminal docket on the left might have a quick tab to the probable cause document, while a family docket may provide quick access to the petition and answer in the case. These docket views are not difficult to create and configure. Usually an in-house IT employee can work with the judge to create the special docket views without requiring Mentis's involvement. The judge can add flags to highlight on the docket view important documents and the like. So if the attorney tells you, I've got a pending motion for summary judgment. You can go ahead and put a colored flag there. You might choose a color, say red, for motions for summary judgment, so that later when you pull the file, it'll be easy to find the motion for summary judgment. You can also create a tab on the top called Motions. You click on the tab, and all the motions in the case can be revealed sequentially. Importantly, aiSMARTBENCH's Judicial Information Warehouse is configured to generate quick access to documents and images, to database data, and full text word search capabilities across disparate databases. The integration is tailored to provide sub-second response times to judges without adversely affecting the performance of the users of other court systems. Put it another way, you have such a robust system, you could have many judges using aiSMARTBENCH at the same time. aiSMARTBENCH provides an extensive annotation features for notes on a document or on the case. Below the docket view on the left are a set of glances or boxes. One is case comment. That allows the user to enter notes for the case and assign 3 levels of security. You can share the notes with the colleagues that the user has defined. You can share it with all those in the aiSMARTBENCH community who have access to log on to aiSMARTBENCH, or you can make the notes private where the judge user is the only one that can see it. In my many years of hands-on experience with aiSMARTBENCH, the case comment glance is one of the most used features. Let me give you an example. It's a violation of probation hearing. You have 30 cases on the docket. Some of the defendants you know by sight, but most you don't know. The case is called out by the clerk. In the time it takes for the defendant to get up from the gallery bench, walk through the public gallery into the bar area and up to the podium, you as the judge are able to find the defendant's name in the agenda view, click on the docket page icon, the docket for that case comes up, you see the case summary on the right with a list of all previous VOP court hearings. You click on the VOP affidavit tab and the affidavit of violation of probation replaces the case summary. Below the docket view on the left, you see your comment glance from the previous hearings, which refreshes your recollection. If you reviewed the case just before the court hearing, you could add to the case comment. So by the time the defendant has reached your podium, 10 seconds has elapsed, but you're fully informed and ready to go. It's that fast. Each case has an associated case-specific folder. This folder is displayed below the docket list on the left and below the case comment glance. The case folder supports image files, PDF, TIFF, JPEG. It supports MS Word documents, and the case summary from another case can be added to the case folder. That's because many times the people you have in front of you, whether it's civil or criminal, may have another related case. Sometimes when you have petitions for divorce, you also have a petition for an injunction which has a different case number, and you can take some of the documents or files from the one case and put them into the other by putting them into the case folder. In the paper world, many judges prefer to keep a separate paper folder with copies of important documents, proposed orders, case law, and just notes. This folder can be used exactly the same way. Adding new items to the case folder is easy to do. You right-click with your mouse on the document and a menu comes up, which includes a choice to move or to send to a specific folder, and a copy is sent. In many cases, knowing what the financial status of a particular case is very important, such as the violation of probation. aiSMARTBENCH supports customization of at-a-glance views into all aspects of a case, including up-to-date financial data and payment history related to the case. Snippets of case information can be created and stored with the case for quick review and access in a glance. The snippet glance is below the others we just discussed. Creating snippets is easy. For example, in the violation of probation case, prior to going to court, the judge will be reviewing all of the cases on the docket. When the affidavit of violation of probation is brought up on the right-hand side of the case view, the judge, using a simple snippet tool on the bar above the document, can grab and highlight a specific part of the affidavit for easy reference later. When the mouse is released, the selected portion becomes a snippet on the bottom left of the screen. If you click on the snippet while you're in court, on the right-hand side, the document that the snippet came from pops up, and you can see the whole document, including the snippet portion. aiSMARTBENCH provides a Lego-like approach and custom views of critical data through the use of these glances. Many additional glances can be created and configured by the user to snap onto their dashboard on the left-hand side of the screen below the docket. There can be quick links to legal research, to digital evidence, digital court recording, and to virtual Zoom hearing sites. In Manatee County, we had a digital court recording system that had a separate internal link to allow a judge to click on the open court link. It was the name of the recording system was called Open Court. You click on that, it would log you in. It would then default right to the defendant's name whose case you were looking at. And every time that defendant was in court, an index created by the digital court recorder would be there, and you could then listen to any of the selected court proceedings that you found were necessary. This was used often by me when I was doing written orders on motions for summary judgment in criminal cases where I needed to go back and listen to the oral testimony over and over and over again in order to properly set out my statement of facts and make a ruling. Having the ability to access the digital court recordings of every time the defendant was in court by a simple click on the case file is an unbelievably helpful experience and saves you a lot of time and energy, because otherwise, without it, you either have to order the information from the digital court recorder, get a CD, or just rely on your notes. Now, the user determines what order the glances are to appear, as well as their size and color. You can see their different colors. Glances can be reordered by grabbing the glance title bar and dragging it to the preferred location. They can also be opened and closed to save on space. Okay, we've spent some time describing how a judge can access his or her docket, organize and access cases and documents, and to create comments, notes, or snippets for easy review of important information. So now I'd like to turn our attention to another very important task performed by judges or their judicial assistants: order creation. aiSMARTBENCH offers an easy-to-use document template application. This application takes advantage of the ease of use and ubiquity of Microsoft Word. All the typical orders and in-court documents can be designed as forms or templates. These templates will automatically pull in known data, such as litigant name or today's date. In addition, these templates provide prompts that are associated with field locations in the document that capture in-court data for judgments, orders, etc. Any document in the system can be marked for signature. Some documents generated from a template are already automatically marked and ready for signature. Other documents imported or integrated into the system can be marked for signature by adding a signature block in the desired signing location on the document. In either case, the system applies the image of the judge's signature to the signature block, locks the document so it cannot be modified, and places it in a folder for e-filing. Underneath the signature, the system applies an encrypted code plus the judge's name, date, and time. Documents e-filed to a state's portal or to the clerk from within aiSMARTBENCH are submitted as PDF documents to the portal's pending queue. Each e-filing will consist of only one document. Only aiSMARTBENCH users with an enabling e-filing are able to e-file a document with the portal. In addition, the user must have adequate permissions to access the document being filed. The county is responsible for obtaining judicial filing user accounts from the portal authority and making necessary arrangements to assure that documents filed by this user account will be forwarded to the county clerk for appropriate processing. The county is also responsible to establish internal procedures to enable its e-filers to edit, resubmit, monitor the status or use of any other portal features. When a document is generated from an aiSMARTBENCH template, it's possible for the template to provide some of the required e-filing metadata, reducing the choices that would otherwise need to be made at the time of filing. For example, a case number properly embedded in a template will automatically populate the appropriate case number information. Similarly, if a portal filing docket description has been included with each template, the default value will be set automatically. aiSMARTBENCH allows e-service recipients to be specified for a copy of the filing. Recipients may come from three sources. It may come from the portal list itself, from the clerk's case management system, or the recipient can be added by the user through aiSMARTBENCH. The submitter of any filing may choose whether or not to serve each recipient before the filing is submitted. The filing may also be marked as confidential if necessary. Now, Lisa is going to take you through the next part of our program, which has to do with the calendaring system. Lisa?
All right, thank you, Mark. All right, from the very beginning, aiSMARTBENCH has always offered a very robust calendaring activity. It integrates the calendar from maybe a variety of sources, the clerk's case management system as an example. In some organizations, the district attorney manages the criminal calendar, and so those calendars can also be integrated into the system. But aiSMARTBENCH has always offered the user the opportunity to create hearing blocks within the application itself. So that's always been part of the calendaring activity within the application. But in 2019, Mentis was approached by court clients, much like the Mentis was approached back in the 2007 timeframe looking for judicial tools. Clients came to Mentis in 2019 looking for a calendaring solution. One of the primary reasons for that was the system that they were using while they were still using it was outdated and it was no longer supported by the vendor. So they were just using it as best they could with no updates and so forth. But they were looking for a solution that would hopefully address many of the concerns that the courts were having with regard to calendaring. We know that, as I just mentioned, calendar can come from a variety of locations. So there were data silos where calendar was stuck in different places. Criminal cases are over here, with civil over in this section. The introduction, if you will, of COVID-19 created a need for yet another calendar, virtual and Zoom type hearings and so forth. And then on top of that, judges are managing non-case appointments, technology committee meetings, those sorts of things, personal appointments. So they're going to a variety of calendars to try to find what is it on my agenda for the day. So the solution was to aggregate those multiple calendars and so forth, giving a unified or a single look into a calendar, and that would hopefully eliminate some of the other challenges. For instance, when one calendar was updated in those disparate calendars, not everything was updated. Courts are resorting often to printing that paper calendar out, printing out that docket, but as we all know, calendars change so frequently in the courts that as soon as the docket is printed, it's already outdated. Mentis was given another requirement for a new calendaring system, and that was to be able to allow an attorney to not only view the judge's docket online, but also to be able to schedule a hearing with the judge. So what was born was aiCALENDAR. Now, the screen that I have here for you right now, this is a look at the default view of a judge's calendar, and that is the 5-day work week. So you see the Monday through Friday as my default here. That can be very, very quickly changed, and I'm going to show you here in a moment the different ways in which the calendar can be viewed. But what you see here right now for this particular judge is last week's agenda, or calendar. There is on Monday the 4th of July holiday, which was observed on Monday the 5th. There is a full docket on Tuesday. On Wednesday, there's docket, but there's also a dental appointment. On Thursday, there are Zoom hearings, and then on Friday, there's a technology committee meeting. So again, this is where all of those different calendars can come together in a single view for the judge. And those appointments that are not available for calendaring, those personal appointments, maybe those committee meetings as an example, those can be marked using the aiCALENDAR application as non-visible, so they would not be made available to the external user. We have the ability, as I said, to view the docket in a variety of ways. The default is the 5-day work week, but users can view the calendar by the month, by the 7-day week. They can view by a list or even a time slot view. However they want to use the application, those opportunities are there. The good news with aiSMARTBENCH as well as aiCALENDAR is it's user configurable, and one user can use it one way and another court division can use it completely differently, and they're not going to affect one another. Now, if we hover over any one of the time blocks, it will expand for us and give us more detail about that hearing. In this instance, we can see the title of the hearing. Of course, we can see our judge, we can see the location, we can see the number of cases that have been scheduled in that hearing block, how much time has been used, and any time that might be remaining. The other option that judges and their judicial staff they have the ability to limit the number of cases in a hearing block if they desire to do so. In the example that I have up here for you, there are 25 slots, 2 cases have been scheduled, and that does the calculation for you. There are 23 slots remaining. Now, once that limit has been met, that hearing block would no longer be available to the external user. Internally, a judicial assistant would have the ability to override that number of cases if that's something that they wanted to do. Now, the other thing with aiCALENDAR, judges and other users can search for the history of hearings for a particular case. I've just plugged in a case number in my demo environment, and I can see all the different times that this case has been heard. That can come in handy. And I said in my notes for this slide, finally, you can generate a docket report, and it's really only finally for this particular slide because there's a great deal of more calendar functionality that's available in the application. But for those judges and courts that still rely on the paper, we've included the ability to generate that docket. It does get generated in Microsoft Word, but then you have the ability, of course, to print it, you can email it, and so forth. Now, aiCALENDAR itself is available through a publicly accessible website that's owned by the court. And I want to emphasize that it's owned by the court. The court gets to decide who is going to be able to access their online instance of calendar. But it's designed to allow attorneys and case participants to connect with and collaborate with the court calendaring system. It's configurable by judge, just like the aiSMARTBENCH application. It reduces the need for an attorney or a pro se litigant to contact the judicial assistant directly, and it really does streamline the court scheduling process. Now, aiCALENDAR provides the court with an attorney-facing presence with its very own distinctive look and feel. It's not a blank page like you see right there. It does allow the attorney to view the judge's daily docket, to locate an available hearing date, to determine and understand the court's scheduling guidelines, to collaborate with the opposing counsel, and to actually schedule a hearing. And all of this can be accomplished with any mobile device. The aiCALENDAR application has a really very convenient mechanism to get important time-sensitive information out to its stakeholder community. In this instance, the court is broadcasting some court access restrictions related to COVID-19. And it provides a way for the court to project a more personal presence for the judge, including the ability to provide a bio of the judge, and that's, of course, if it's desired by the court. aiCALENDAR, as I mentioned before, is configurable by judge. Some judges may want their bio published, and maybe some don't. We're working with a particular court now. There are judges that don't want their photograph as part of the view of the calendar. So, as I said, it's configurable by judge. Now, the court can also provide easy access to the contact information for the judicial assistant. And because aiCALENDAR is accessible from the mobile devices, attorneys can take advantage of the auto dial link and the auto send email options that we have available. They can also click the address of the court, and their map application is going to open up on their phone and give them directions, of course, to the court. And then lastly, attorneys can add all of this detail to their mobile device if that's something they'd like to do. Now, all judges have calendaring rules. We know that. And the rules can be included in the configurations for the judge in aiCALENDAR. For example, this judge is going to allow online scheduling beginning 1 week from today, and attorneys can schedule up to 2 months in advance. And any scheduling needs for the coming week, they're directed to contact the judicial assistant directly. And then for the complete set of rules, links can be provided to PDF documents that would show the complete set of rules for a particular judge. Now, right from their phone, I've mentioned the mobile device many times, attorneys and judges themselves, of course, can view the daily docket. They can click previous to review yesterday's docket. They can click next to view tomorrow's. They can view the week's docket. They can look at all hearings, but most importantly, attorneys can view the judge's available hearings. From the available hearings screen, the attorney can see the number of cases that are currently scheduled in the hearing block. They can see the number of available slots and any time that's remaining in the hearing block. They will see the scheduled hearing time and the duration, as well as the hearing location. Now, attorneys have the option to share appointment details with opposing counsel, perhaps to settle on a mutually agreeable date prior to scheduling. You can see I have highlighted here some little icons there. Those are some sharing opportunities that the attorney has. They can text message and they can also email by clicking the share or clicking the copy to the clipboard. They can copy the details of this hearing, paste it into their own email if they like, and send it off in that direction to the opposing counsel. And then they also have a very quick way in which they can email the judicial assistant from this screen as well. By clicking that little email icon, it will automatically open up the user's email application that they use. It automatically populates the judicial assistant's email address, and it includes a subject line which would identify the hearing itself. Now, when the attorney is ready to schedule a hearing for his case, he can select the Request Hearing button, and he's going to be presented with predefined data fields that have been set by the court. The judge's scheduling details or calendaring rules can be repeated in this section. And if the attorney needs a refresher, there's a link there, just as you saw on the previous screen, where they can click the hyperlink and get that PDF document that would contain the full set of court rules. Now, the attorney will enter, as I said, the scheduling elements that have been predefined by the court. And again, I'll repeat that it's configurable by judge, so one judge may have different requirements than another. But the elements can come in the form of free-form fields, they can be checkboxes, they can be pick lists. And the scheduling elements, by the way, will always, always include a case number. We obviously need to know what case is it that we're looking to schedule. But other possible elements include checkboxes, maybe requiring an attorney to confirm that they understand the judge's court rules before they can continue. You can make these fields required, so if an attorney does not check that box, it will not allow them to move forward with the scheduling, as an example. There can be pick lists of motion types, as an example. What is it that I want my judge to hear? We can also assist with providing pick lists for any interpreter needs they might have. Another checkbox might be whether or not someone related to the case is in custody. And then finally, identifying the amount of time that they are requesting of the court. Now, once they have clicked the Schedule Hearing button, they will receive a confirmation of the hearing. There's a reminder, by the way, of the calendaring rules that can be included if desired. Both the attorney and the judicial assistant actually receive an email notification with the hearing confirmation. And if the attorney has mistakenly scheduled the wrong day, he can very quickly cancel that hearing just by clicking the cancel option. There are other options in the email notification, as an example, that he or she would be able to also cancel from that email confirmation that is received. And then finally, that hearing is automatically scheduled on the judge's aiSMARTBENCH docket. So it's very fast. And really does help streamline the scheduling process. Mark, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. In the remaining minutes, we're going to go over some other important functions that you can employ in SmartBench. One has to do with creating and using workspaces. Another is searching by document or by parties. So on the dashboard on the left-hand side, you may recall that we talked about the list of all the different items that are available for you to utilize. The fourth block down on the activity panel is called Manage Workspaces. aiSMARTBENCH offers the ability to manage workspaces, which expands on the Judicial Viewer Foundation to provide judicial case management tools such as creating watch lists for active notifications of filings, performance reporting, and batch processing of orders and notices. Users can quickly and easily identify a list of cases based on available filter criteria or by sending cases individually from the Send menu to existing workspaces. So, for example, you can create a workspace for old cases that fit your parameters for lack of prosecution. Earlier, we discussed the use of a case folder or the case folder for a particular file for documents deemed important by the judge. Other folders can be created for different reasons to facilitate a judge's workflow. aiSMARTBENCH offers a number of workflow management features which include the following. The judge, when viewing a document or progress docket, has the ability to send a document directly into a work queue for subsequent action with the ability to override a default due date. The judge can add local documents and items to the work queue, and the judge is able to route the work queue item to other court personnel by moving it to the other person's work queue. In my environment, my judicial assistant and I worked hand and glove in the preparation of certain documents, and when the document was ready for me to review, she would move it into a work queue that I had set up just for that purpose. I would be able to review the document. If it needed to be edited, I could very easily edit the document, correct it, and send it back to my judicial assistant by putting it into her work queue for further processing. Let's move on to another very important feature of SmartBench. This is View a Case. From the View Case button, you may search for cases not on today's docket. Advanced filters narrow the search. For example, search for a case by a party's last name. Cases matching the criteria is returned, and the user has the option to open the desired case or preview the case from the Select a Case screen. Document search is another feature available on the activity list on the left-hand side of the dashboard. Using this activity, you may search for documents using a variety of methods, including type, filing data, text, and page count. In this example, the user searched for summons documents. From the results, the judge can open or preview the selected document, view the case, or send the case to a work queue or folder. One of my favorite aspects of aiSMARTBENCH has to do with the party search activity. The party search activity enables the user to quickly find related cases for a particular party. It provides an easy and flexible search tool to identify related cases using a variety of person identifiers maintained in the clerk's CMS system, such as party type, date of birth, driver's license, etc. It's a fast path to determining likely related cases and giving a quick way to view documents associated with the resulting cases. All you have to do is click on the defendant or party's name in the case summary, for example, and the results appear on the left side of the screen. Notice that the search criteria on the top is automatically populated based upon the default filters. This result can be modified or enhanced by adding or deleting certain filters and pushing the search button on the far right. Previously, we discussed the creation of documents and orders using a template. Back on the dashboard, on the agenda view, you will see on the left-hand side of the list the button or activity called Prepare Incoming Documents. This activity provides a highly efficient solution for importing, preparing, and sending documents for judicial review and signature. And this is because many times the documents in question aren't already in the system. They're coming separately. They have to be scanned into the computer. A judicial assistant is creating it from a Word document. There are some judges that prefer to write their own orders from scratch every time. That can be done in Word, saved to the desktop, and then using this function, it can be imported as an MS Word or PDF document. It allows the user to review and edit the document, to link the document to a case and select the electronic service list of recipients. It allows the user to modify the document title to be more user-friendly and to apply a signature block and electronic service list to the document. And the document then can be sent to a folder. aiSMARTBENCH supports in-court collaboration, whereby the court clerk can research and locate case information that the judge requests, or the court clerk can pull up the next case for the judge to review while the judge is focused on another case or function. Now, almost everyone in this room has heard the same thing I have heard many, many times, and that is that the problem with technology is some of the judges don't want to embrace it. They simply do not want to apply a username and password and have to learn how to use an electronic system. They've used paper, they've always used paper, and they want paper files, they want paper dockets. What can be done about those judges who will have to convert to electronic viewing and applications, whether it's aiSMARTBENCH or another, because in some states, Florida, for example, e-filing was mandated by the Florida Supreme Court. There's no question. The clerk isn't going to print out e-filed documents and put them in a paper court file. It's not going to happen. So what do you do? Well, let me give you an example. When we launched aiSMARTBENCH in Manatee County, Florida, we had a judge who was really very technologically challenged. The judge was very clear in her desire not to use or drive the application. The solution was simple. We had one of her clerks set up with access the judge's username and password so the clerk could sign in as the judge. The judge was also signed in simultaneously, but the clerk drove the application. The judge gave navigation directions. So when in a violation of probation hearing, the defendant is approaching the podium, the judge would say to the clerk, please bring up the VOP affidavit. And as the defendant and his attorney were walking to the podium, the clerk would bring up the affidavit on the judge's monitor as well as the clerk's. The driver of the application can be the judge's judicial assistant or any other authorized person. The authorized person can, following directions of the judge, take notes, do whatever is necessary, so the judge didn't have to run the application. The clerk or the judge's judicial assistant would do it for the judge. aiSMARTBENCH provides a fast path to e-everything, an efficient means for routing e-signed documents and key filing information without requiring manual intervention. E-signed orders are electronically routed by way of the filing portal and then electronically docketed into the case management system. This paperless pathway from the court system to the case system reduces docketing time and eliminates the staff cost of handling, storing, and securing paper orders. This is all possible with aiSMARTBENCH, the most efficient means for e-everything. aiSMARTBENCH, Mentis' judicial e-solution, closes the loop. Unlike case management systems, aiSMARTBENCH was designed with the judge in mind. Rather than offering yet another case management system focused on case docketing activities, Mentis developed a system that is vendor neutral and actually eliminates the barrier for judges to adopting paperless technology in the fast-paced courtroom. Vendor neutrality allows us to work with any case or document management system. aiSMARTBENCH gives the judge an advantage over traditional paper processes. For the first time, an in-court system delivers compelling features to judges so they can embrace a paperless courtroom and realize the vision that was started with e-filing and case management systems. Lisa.
Thanks, Mark. And just checking our time, we do have time for some questions if anyone has any. Yes, ma'am? There's a microphone right there if you'd like to step up.
Maybe a little tall for me, but good morning. I am interested in what your system provides for civil courts. I'm a presiding judge of a civil court, and we are confronted with cases that have multiple parties and multiple filings on the same issue, specifically motions for summary judgment and other kinds of dispositive motions that we need to handle. And I mean, I view your system as excellent for case tracking and for calendar, doing the calendaring function, but I'm curious about how this system has applicability for civil district courts. For example, in a case where there may be 3 or 4, 5 different sides to the case, and people were filing all kinds of motions for summary judgment, motions for instructions, and cross motions and counterclaims. How does this system interface with a civil district court system? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So we do have all court types using the aiSMARTBENCH application. And so essentially the functionality is the same, but specific to your question about civil, where there are multiple parties involved, multiple filings, I understand what you're saying. So just very quickly, first of all, I would invite you to come by so we can show you personally what it looks like. But the case summary, as an example, is going to identify all of the parties for you. The case docket is going to identify all of the docket entries for you. The calendar itself also, if one party, as an example, to the case is set to hear the judge, then that's the individual that's going to appear on the docket for the day, as an example. So the functionality really is the same, but you're still presented with all of the data related to the case. And I should pause there for a moment and make sure I stress that all of the detail that we get that populates aiSMARTBENCH, I believe that Mark said this, all is derived from the integration with the clerk's case management system. So it's a read-only application. We do have some ability, as you heard a few minutes ago, to create and sign and send documents back through a portal or back to the clerk, as an example. But all of the case data, all of the documents related to a case are stemming from the clerk's system. So that's how we're bringing it to you. We don't manipulate that data in any fashion, but we do have the ability to sort of segregate out some of those details so it's easier to see which documents go to which defendant or party in a civil matter and so forth. So I would invite you to come and take a first-hand look. We can bring up a civil environment and you can see for yourself what that does for the judge.
And if I could add something. When we were talking about the managed workspaces in preparation for a large hearing where there are multiple motions for summary judgment, in preparation, the judge can create a motion for summary judgment folder and then go through the docket list, which has everything that's been docketed in the order that it was docketed, find the various motions for summary judgment, either by looking at the titles or by using a tab called motions, finding each motion for the particular hearing, and then right-clicking on it and sending it to that special case folder just for that hearing. The judge can then pull snippets out as well in preparing for the hearing, but you can then put everything together in one place, which makes it a lot easier to handle than it is to try to have all of the motions that are in the court file manually gone through by the judge to try to find what the attorneys are talking about. Many of the judges in the paper world would simply have their judicial assistant make copies of all the pleadings so that you'd have a stack. You can literally do the same thing using aiSMARTBENCH. The other thing that is very important is that the judge has the ability to make notes and comments for himself or herself and to include in the case file relevant case law. Most importantly, I did civil work for 20 years, and as a county judge, we had a whole civil docket. Half of what I did was civil. And in the civil world, more than in the criminal world, documents get filed at the last minute. It used to be standard in Manatee and Sarasota counties that the attorneys would have to bring copies of the latest filed documents to court with them to give to the judge because the judge would not have them in the court file. Some of the judges required that you bring a separate copy over to the courthouse and give it to the judicial assistant a day or so before the hearing so that the judge could read it over before the hearing. In aiSMARTBENCH, if it's electronically filed, which it can be up until midnight of every single day, everything's up to date because the system can refresh very frequently. In Manatee County, we had the system refreshing every 15 minutes. So everything that gets filed, as long as you have a clerk that can make sure that it gets put into the proper docket, it's going to end up in your court file, and it really makes the civil judge's job a whole lot easier.
Thank you, Mark. So as I said, the functionality is available for, regardless of the case type, the functionality is there, and how a judge uses it isn't really entirely up to the judge. What we like to say about the application is it works the way you want to work instead of a software telling you how you have to work. And again, we have civil courts using it. One of the larger ones we have that's only civil is in Orleans Civil District Court. And we've got 15 judges using the application every single day. So, other questions? Eric, did you have other questions?
No, I think we're
Are we done?
Yeah.
I think we're up against our time. Again, thank you for your time and attention. Hopefully you glean sufficient information. You'd like to come and see the application and work, and we invite you to certainly come by our booth, which is number 205, and then there's our contact details as well. So thank you again very, very much for your time and attention.